we get rolling with this week's video, I just want to take a moment to thank you guys. You guys have been awesome. I really do appreciate the support because it really does allow me to do what I love. It's gonna be a little while longer until I go on another shooting trip. But in the meantime, I got some fun stuff planned, let's just put it that way. And I shipped out book number 84 of 100 of my 2016 books, so we're only in July, but the series is getting close to being sold through, so that is pretty cool. And also I want to thank you guys for all the contributions in the past couple weeks or so. It really does make doing this possible, so it's very rewarding, and I definitely do enjoy that. I think one of the cool things about the viewer-supported content is that, I mean, in addition to just not seeing the ads, but also it gives me a different sort of direction with where to go on this, because I'm not trying to get attention. I'm not trying to do the clickbaity sort of stuff. I can just kind of go in a direction I think is a good direction from a quality standpoint, and you guys have my back, and I definitely appreciate that. And if you guys want to help support this content, help me when I go on my trips and cover all the expenses and all that, check out below in the show notes. You'll see a link down there. It has all the information on everything. But this week's video it's all about kind of changing from one camera to another, kind of the reasons why I'm doing that. This right here, that's my new camera. And I'm not really big on gear. I don't talk about gear a lot. So if I do make a change from one camera to another, there's usually a little bit of a reason why. So hope you guys enjoy. What is going on, everyone? So in this week's video, I want to talk a little bit about something that's been kind of in motion for a little while now. And basically, I'm going to be retiring my Ebony camera. And this is the camera I've used ever since 2009. It's been my primary camera. And pretty much every time you see me shooting a camera in any videos, it's going to be this one right here. And this is the same camera that took a big tumble in January. But even before then, I already had it kind of in mind that I was going to go ahead and replace that camera. And it's not that I'm not going to use the camera anymore. The camera is still going to get used. It's still going to go with me on all the trips. But it's going to be kind of phased out a little bit, and I have a new camera, this guy right here, which I'll talk about in a little bit, that is going to kind of take over the role as the primary camera. But the main reason why I decided that I'm going to retire the Ebony is that I've been using that camera ever since 2009. I'm starting to get some more wear and tear on the camera, like some of the bellows. There hasn't been any issues, but I can see it kind of going down the road of at some point, you know, creating some issues. When it took the big tumble in January, a buddy of mine rebuilt the wood part that broke, and so that's as good as new, which is great. Another buddy of mine had a spare ground glass for the exact same camera, and so that is basically as good as new as well. But there's other parts of it. Some of the metal knobs and stuff like that, all the hardware is titanium, and if any of those strip out, because I've stripped out some of them in the past, it's going to be a bit more difficult to find something that's going to be kind of an original part or something that's going to be completely compatible with it. And yes, it could be something that's machined and all that, but I don't really want to get to that point where I'm breaking more stuff on that camera. I'm having to work really hard to try to find all those various parts, because the Ebony camera company is not around anymore. And when I bought that camera back in 2009, I think I paid about $3,200 for the camera. And it's worth even more than that now, which is kind of one of the fun things about, you know, shooting this kind of equipment. But all it really is a light-proof box. And if you're upgrading a digital camera, you know, usually you're upgrading because of an increase in image quality as well as perhaps some features. But sort of the fun thing about when you upgrade on a camera like this, you don't have that feeling in the back of your mind of, you know, looking at some of those older photos that you shot and wishing that they were shot with a new camera and maybe I could pull more shadows from it, or maybe add higher resolution. So I can look at all the photos I've taken through the years with the Ebony camera and know that they turned out great, and they'll turn out great with the new camera that I'm going to use as well. And it really is just that light-proof box. I never really get too geeky about equipment on the YouTube channel here, because it's really not about the equipment. It's really about the experience of kind of getting out there, you know, experiencing these places and setting up and taking the photo. And you know, when you look at this camera over my shoulder here, what I'm about to say might seem kind of strange, but for me, a really good camera is one that just kind of disappears. It's almost as though it's not even there. And by using this camera here for the past many years, you know, I learned a lot more about what it is that I really want to have in a camera. And a lot of it is stuff that basically makes it even easier to work with the camera, so it kind of gets even less in the way. And the Ebony did really well for that. But there's a few things that kind of, in addition to kind of the wear and tear on the camera, that also made me go in the direction of this new camera here. And some of it has to do with quick releases. So the Ebony, I have a 6-inch plate from Really Right Stuff on there, really solid plate. But ultimately, this camera doesn't seem to be as well set up for a quick release head. There's a titanium piece on the bottom of the camera here. And you know, based on looking at this, you'd think that the wood continues all the way underneath this plate, and this plate just stiffens it. But the wood actually extends only to about here, and then it's just the plate on the bottom. And I actually get a little bit of flex on there. I can mount this camera to a Gitzo low profile 3-way head. It has a big top platform, like that big. There's 2 screws in it. It's really solid on that because you got all this surface area to work with. But ultimately, when you're trying to balance the weight and the mass of that camera on a skinny plate, you get some flex. And that became a little bit of a frustration on my last trip, because I have an amazing tripod head here, the Arca Swiss Cube head. It's a really heavy duty head. It's a geared head, which is really nice. You can adjust everything just by turning the knobs, just like that. But here's the thing. The Ebony camera just did not do tremendously well on that setup. And I wish it would have been more stable, but I do like having the quick release plate set up. So strength was one of the things I was looking at when looking at a new camera. So this right here is the camera that I have basically replaced the Ebony with. You're still going to see the Ebony from time to time, but it's kind of going to take on more of a secondary role, kind of more as a backup camera, or maybe that'll be the camera for certain situations, and then this will be the camera for other situations. But this is the Arca Swiss, the F-line 8x10, and this is a different design because this is a monorail design. So you have this monorail here, which is the solid backbone of the camera, and then that mounts directly to the tripod head, and it has a lot of strength because of that design. But unlike most monorail designs, what's kind of nice about it is that it does fold up to be relatively small. Basically, the back here, if I focus it all the way back in, it's going to be right up next to the front standard here. And then there's a 6-inch rail that you slide off the main part of the monorail there. And as a result, you have a non-folding field camera, monorail camera, kind of hybrid sort of design. And very solid, very strong in the wind, really good when using long lenses. Like when I went on the trip to Capitol Reef, I used the 600mm lens for at least 3 of the photos I shot. And the Ebony did okay with that, but honestly, a little bit of wind would shake the camera around. So this is going to be a much more solid design. I will have a video on this camera as far as more of a preview video, as well as at some point kind of a review video on the camera, because there's not a lot of video content kind of showing what this camera can do. But I'm really excited about what I'll be able to do with this setup. It just has a really strong sort of precision feel, which I really do enjoy. And one of the things when choosing this camera is I wanted something that was really fast to work with, something that was kind of mindless to work with. You don't even think about it, you just reach for the knobs, you adjust everything, and it's very well thought out design. So looking forward to taking this camera here on my next trip, which is going to be all the way in the fall. But of course, return trip to Zion, maybe a little backpacking, we'll see. I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you around next time.